All right, folks, we're back, and just in time, too. Looks like KeeN's just joined us in the lobby, so we won't be waiting for too long. First map going to be Proxima as we, I guess, swap players around, player slots.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
The reason my camera's down here is because I don't want to have to pull off the top of my monitor again. I got one more scratch and win card I want to do before the stream's over. We'll save that for after the semifinals. Bit of a teaser. See if we can win that big dollar bills for or those big dollar bills for an esports event. I'm telling you guys, like for me, honestly, it'd be really cool to win 10K. But I actually live my life in such a way that I don't know what I would use 10K on, right? Like we've had this discussion on stream, like what would you do if you won $10,000? And I actually think the coolest thing to do would be to invest in something for StarCraft, like throw a tournament, make an event, whether it's live or online. I mean, this is what we do day in and day out. It breathes StarCraft.
I would put it in a very, very low yield. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure what I'd do with it either.
All right, well, getting into game number 1, you are watching the semifinals of this week's Corsair Cup. It's the last chance for anyone to qualify into the season finals. We'll get into those points and those standings in just a moment. But in the top right side of the map, we got the Blue Terran Team Liquid's uThermal.
In the bottom left is the Red Terran. He is KeeN.
And I guess some folks had just barely missed the last series, so if you missed it, Neeb did win. And he'll be in the finals. One of these two go on to fight him in a TvP. Now, actually, what's interesting about that is it does look like the Adept nerf has had a little bit of bearing on this matchup and might not be so one-sided. Because I think in the past, outside of that one bad series he had versus Gumiho, well, I guess 2 bad series versus Gumiho at Tang, really, if you think about it, I think Neeb's had an outstanding TvP performance.
Yeah. I really wonder, like, uThermal has not had, wait, did he win yesterday or not?
uThermal? Yeah, he beat Nurture with such
random
random
that's
play.
Right. Yeah, that's right. But it was also a TvT.
I don't understand the point of this random play.
Yeah, that was the Belshir game. That was a funny comment to make, but that was also TvZ, so that's what I was thinking of. But I think I was thinking of actually the TvT versus Optimus that he played yesterday, right?
That was a very interesting
or Wednesday.
TvT.
That's why I was confused. Wednesday, not Thursday. But that was an interesting TvT. Anyways, I think that uThermal has like some really, really good TvT play. There's no arguing that he's a good player, but there are definitely, I feel like, big holes in his TvT play, and that does come around a lot of the Doom drops. But that's just everyone, right? Like, you get one good Doom drop in, it feels like that's kind of the end of the game. And Proxima is one of those maps that just is like more so than any other. You have a lot of dead space in that main. You have a lot of space to get to that main from the left side where their army is never going to be if you're uThermal. And it can be rough. And I think that's how he lost versus KeeN like the last time they played. Because I'm pretty sure these guys played 2 weeks ago, maybe? Maybe longer, actually. But anyways, let's see.
I just want to comment, because Pez has been on this for a while now. I'm fully aware that this is not an actual investment. That this... Every time we buy one of these scratch cards for stream, it's like a $5 throwaway. But there's so many better ways to waste money. And I think this is actually just kind of a fun thing. Because even if it's for 30 seconds, the audience gets to feel a little bit involved. Like, oh, maybe there'll be the big win. There's no situation. Like, I want to make this perfectly clear. There's no situation where I look at this and I'm like, oh, this could be a good investment. This could be worth my while.
Well, you never really seriously said that either.
No.
Been pretty clear about your intentions.
It's like literally $5. Like when is the last time it is VSL? Like a month ago? Like hello? It's $15 for a month's period of time. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. I guess I actually surprised the number of people do it just once a month for fun. Actually,
there's a lot more people I think who are like my dad. Ever since I've known him, has bought 2 to 3 lottery tickets a week his entire life. I think when you're doing it like that. Like, yeah, there's the chance for the payoff, but you're doing it for like 40 years, $5 to $15 a week. Like, that adds up over time.
That I'm not so sure that is worth it. Yeah,
no, because at some point you're gonna win $40,000, and it'll still be less than you've been putting into it for like your lifespan.
Yeah, but I guess it's not so different. Like, if he was not eating out to lunch every day at work, and said he had the thrill of scratching off lottery tickets, and I guess it is roughly the same, because people will always point out these small little things add up over time.
Well, speaking of pointing out small little things, we had a third CC come down substantially quicker for uThermal over KeeN. You're going to make a reference to an earlier clip from today. I'm fully aware. We're just going to move past it, however.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No. Because then you would be the one diverting attention away from the game.
No.
And then how would people blame me on Reddit for that?
I mean, diverting attention for a second for a joke is not quite the same. But okay. Alright. We're just going to move past it.
A little bit awkward. Hold position could have actually killed that Hellion, but uThermal reacts. Double Viking for the opener is kind of interesting. I guess I'm so used to seeing things like Ravens and otherwise, but paired up with these Vikings, this will actually give him a substantial boost to the early game air control.
Yeah. And he's kind of hiding it, but also kind of setting up for a position that would help against drops too, so either one could work.
I actually kind of like the idea of these Vikings, because you know your opponent's going to have a Raven at least. Like, okay, there's maybe the drop element, right? But you know they're going to have at least a Raven. If they come early across the map like this, they might not expect two Vikings waiting for him. That could actually be very, very bad. However, it does look like KeeN, he's following up his Ravens with Vikings, so that could be totally naked and unsupported.
I mean, they might go for exactly the same number, 2 Ravens, 2 Vikings. KeeN is going to decide right here, right now. Actually, what comes out from that starport? More Vikings. Okay, so he's going to win the air war, and that could be dangerous, but they're going to be such slight differences and such a big map.
It's like he's going to win the air war, but like with an asterisk. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, like positioning still matters. If you dive in too deep, auto turrets can pick you off. Cyclones actually kill both these units in the middle of the map. Nice moves out of uThermal. But yeah, like, head-on brute force numbers will favor KeeN. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
I think that is one of the things that does entice me about TvT opposed to the other matchups. And we kind of saw this like for a period of time in PvP, where it was all about disruptors and playing stalkers. I think it had the same appeal that TvT does to me, where you've got positioning being one of the most important elements, the most valued thing, opposed to just making a bunch of tanks and marines and A-moving.
TvT has the most obvious, like, bad positioning versus good positioning of all the other matchups, I think. But
yeah,
a lot of the times, a lot of that bad positioning is not necessarily like beautiful concaves and arcs of tanks and marines, but it's more just like, oh, I was out of position for a doom drop, I guess I lose. So there is still a lot of frustration in playing the matchup for sure, but also not watching it sometimes. But uThermal is already trying to take care of that potential by at least having a sensor tower up on his main. And while that does give you a little bit of advanced notice, if you don't have any missile turrets there, it still might be worth for KeeN to scan and dodge in. I mean, they both played to 3 bases very, very quickly, just really playing to the map, and it's going to come to a point where one of them might just decide, yeah, I could play around the bases, like I could be the one that's pressuring the other, but more likely I would say is that they're just going to try and drop first, see if that works, and then worry about the actual beautiful positioning that is TvT.
Scan to the front of the base. Does see the extra factory coming down. Not exactly unique to uThermal. All Terran players, as we can see, tend to put their factories down here for the second one. As production is actually, I think, taking quite a... I'm trying to think when exactly it pushed over, but a second factory wasn't actually all that common for a long time in TvT, much less one that would come out this soon.
Well, it usually is pushed off. If there's trades in the early game and the mid game, you might not be able to afford a second factory. But because they both went to 3 bases very, very quickly, it just makes sense. They both got their factories around the same time. uThermal getting his upgrades a little bit faster too, though, is a little bit shocking. Like these guys really did play pretty similar builds. I think KeeN got a little bit later to the 3rd base, and of course more Vikings, but otherwise pretty similar.
Oh, kill tanks
yeah,
and
sure, why not?
Vikings looking for the shots, not necessary. Oh, this was a great blitz out of uThermal with these auto turrets. 7, 8 workers killed,
that
plus
is
tanks,
so
plus
silly.
medevacs.
That is so silly. That was a lot of damage. They might even get out. You know, like KeeN, he had his army in position, but a little bit away. And now, once again, finding his air army out of position, not able to find uThermals, and now his main army, his ground army, is out of position too. Just caught with a huge concave. Big mistake there.
Yeah, and by the way, for those who don't know, the army tab disappears, and I don't know why, but Control-Shift-A will turn it back on, so trying to pay attention to that. Now this positioning is great. Shutting down a geyser is actually pretty huge.
Very, very annoying. He still hasn't taken care of the Ravens. Oh, finally it's happening. They actually had some energy. They could have gotten some death throw auto turrets, I suppose, but at least that is finally taken care of, because they looked like they might have gotten away.
Well,
KeeN had almost given up.
This is where the proposed change to the auto turrets is really interesting to me. uThermal's move that he just did, I think actually gets better with longer lasting auto turrets. Because a bursty auto turret having its damage toned down when it's like one auto turret, I think is a large deal. But when you're dropping like 5 or 6, having them last an extra 2 or 4 seconds is actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. That's miscontrol.
Whoopsie.
That's a mistake.
Yep. Straight up miscontrol right there. Definitely a mistake, but uThermal did... I mean, he already got such benefits from everything he just did. The Ravens, the push through the middle, already has a 4th base of the gold. Upgrade's going to be pretty even, I guess. There's not too much to talk about there. But he does pull back at a really important time. KeeN would have otherwise just run through his 3rd base, but instead is going to get 2 tanks and then run off.
That being said, I got to give kudos to uThermal for a lot of different reasons. And one of the big ones is by killing this many Marines. This upgrade lead was one thing. Like, he would have won that fight either way. But the fact that they're matched on 2-2, but KeeN's going to be down, like, what, 20-something Marines? Excuse me, 40-something Marines? Oof. Oh, God. This means that 2-2, it's not going to matter so much for the bio fight. They're going to shred through those tanks. He's just going to have more bodies to lose as he catches the medevacs in the middle of the map. Oh, God. That's like
Never
almost
lucky.
game over. Those were all
Never
the medevacs.
lucky.
He put so much production in Vikings and Liberators. There's nothing. There's one medevac to heal. If KeeN stims, he kills himself.
Yeah, he does. 30 army supply. Eventually upgrades. It's looking pretty bad. Even a drop is scouting that KeeN does not have a 4th base, where I think uThermal might have been thinking about a 5th. He already set up a sensor tower over there after all. Breaks down the rocks and tries to blitz KeeN's army from the backside. Kind of works.
Yeah, it's just it's a numbers game. It's a real big numbers game. He's not even fighting with everything, by the way. The tanks are still back here. It's a little bit awkward as uThermal does overextend a little bit. But he took a really good fight, and of course, KeeN's got no 4th. uThermal takes that gold. Where's the income graph right now? Should be all blue, yeah. All over the place.
Should be, yeah.
Fight in the middle of the map's a little bit awkward as uThermal's a bit out of position, but once again, going back to the fact that he's just got numbers on his side. GG takes game number 1. Sending those Koreans back to Korea, 1 game at a time. Actually, it is worth noting, too, by the way, that this is top 4, so all players at this point are receiving some prize money, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But uThermal now up 1-0. We'll find out what map 2 is in a moment.
Very soon, yeah. But that was a very strong TvT. Nothing about Doom drops that made that say, well, I guess that's TvT for you. That was just uThermal doing a lot of good moves.
People tweeting us some more pictures of their stuff. I like this one out of Brutus, though. I'm going to, once again, camera instead of screen region, because I think screen region's broken and stuff. Tweets us a picture of, oops, let's move XSplit. Not just his Corsair setup, which is fantastic looking, but the fact that he's watching us play while also playing StarCraft. Dude, who is this? Brutus? Can't get the camera over here. Brutus, I salute you. Follow this guy on Twitter. That's a great setup, though. I like LG monitors. I used to have one for a while. I'm using, I think, like an Acer and an Asus one now, but...
Huh. Wow, we have a really... I have an AOC and BenQ.
Oh, just all over the place. That's that
over the
monitor
place.
diversity.
Yep.
Right, well,
So...
Belshir.
Jinx, you owe me a soda at Austin. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Is it okay if I mix it with a drink? Like, here's
Fine.
that Coke I owe you, but there's a little bit of rum in it.
Fine. If you want to, I guess. I mean, it's gonna cost more, so... That's up to you. people are telling people that it's my birthday on Austin. In Austin.
Well, it was last year, so it's kind of like your Austin birthday if you think about it.
Austin's going to be moved to September 1 year, and people are going to be like, it's your birthday. So that one night.
Preemptive happy birthday, I suppose. All right, folks, we're getting into game number 2 of the semifinals. Reminder that this is, of course, a tournament sponsored by Corsair. Without them, this tournament wouldn't be happening in the first place. And then without our partners over on Twitch, we wouldn't have the great, awesome season finals. So $100 every week, $400 for each of the season finals. And this is coming to the end of season 4, actually, which is awesome. Kicking it off, though, in the top left. We'll see if he can make a comeback or if he's just dead in the water. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the red Terran, KeeN.
In the bottom right is the blue Terran. He is liquid uThermal.
Now, I like the way uThermal played that game for a lot of different reasons. Not so much the build. Like, the 2 Raven early on was cool, but it wasn't, like, game-defining. But the way he used those Ravens, I think certainly was. And it caused so much damage, too.
It was really quite funny how he used them. I mean, Ravens are, you know, expensive, a little bit delicate, and you kind of, like, you have to baby them a little bit. But he was just, like, bulldozer. Like, right through the main, right through the natural, right through the third.
Brad Monster just tweeted us a really sexy picture of his setup, by the way. I'll show that off on stream a little bit later. Race car mode activated.
Cool. I'll imagine what that looks like.
I mean, you can check Twitter and see.
And then I have to go to BaseTradeTV and then go to your mentions.
You're not following BaseTradeTV on Zombie Grub?
Oh, did you retweet it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then that was easy, thank you.
I was thinking of your convenience.
Yes, you obviously were.
So people got some really nice looking stuff. My Corsair Gear, of course, is a lot of the stuff they provided, but that PC1, the Corsair 1 PC, excuse me, that I bought, oh god, I'm still blown away by how quiet it is. I wish there was a way to like just turn my microphone, like if I put my microphone right next to the computer, you wouldn't hear anything. It's insane how quiet it is.
Technology, man. Like I'm sure it's a lot quieter than mine, but even mine, compared to my old one, I was just really surprised. It doesn't make any noise at all.
Well, the true test of this is going to be, of course, as summer starts kicking in more and more and it gets hotter and hotter. Last year, I actually had some problems with overheating on my old PC. I'm worried about that for this one. But it's got, like, different types of liquid cooling.
I am so worried about Korea, actually, the more I talk about people going at the time that I am. Because I can deal with heat. In fact, I like heat. But then I was like, oh, shit, like, I've never actually been in an environment. Well, I guess I was one time. Do you remember that summer? It was like 2 years ago. This is like probably before Hell to a Time that our air conditioning broke and I still had to cast.
Vaguely, it was so long ago.
I thought you were
going to bring up Homestory Gap where you got like straight up heat stroke casting in 45 Celsius weather.
There was that too, and I guess the computers also lasted then as well. So maybe I shouldn't be so worried, but that's something I usually have to think of.
Well, anyway. The poke at the front out of KeeN is hardly dangerous, especially with the Cyclone out and running. Ready, I should say.
But seriously, equal number of units here, so no benefit. Unless someone really messed up, which is hard to do in direct fight. So the Reapers just sacrificed themselves to get a scout. If both had gotten in, they might have gotten 1 or 2 SCVs too.
Huh. Yeah, the auto turret response to it's a little bit funny, but I guess if you're going to be sitting here for a few minutes waiting for full energy anyways, maybe not so bad.
Yeah, still gotta wait for the other Raven and the 2 Vikings. As I assume he's doing something very similar to last game because he has a second command center already on the way. Belshir is not Proxima. It is, a larger map. It's not Palladino either, I suppose, right? But you don't usually expect to see 3CC very, very quick on any of the maps other than Proxima or maybe Cactus Valley, I think. But no, that's the way that uThermal's gonna play it.
Did that Reaper get sucked into like another dimension when it died and like into a black hole? That was the weirdest like flip, spin, disappearance, no corpse remaining I've ever seen.
I did not notice. So I don't know.
Alright, Cyclone's gonna get pushed out. This is a problem. He doesn't have 2 Ravens yet, but 1 Raven can do a lot of damage in these sort of low unit fight situations, and 3 Cyclones to 2, I am worried that uThermal might die to this push, to be honest.
It's scary. Luckily, it's not really long lasting though. Like it's not like a tank siege up on the low ground or something like that. But it might just be enough of a blitz to kill. Ravens come forward, missing at least one more auto turret. Might be a big difference maker.
Maybe he does. He does still have to deal with 2 cyclones, and the Ravens are pretty much out of juice.
Unfortunately, a mule's not doing anything, and this is good damage. This was a good attack by KeeN, but let's not forget that uThermal had much faster third CC, right? Yeah, okay. Right next to his main command center. And while that does mean his army losses are substantial, it means that his economic losses probably will be made up eventually.
Yeah, 13 workers is no big deal. I like the landed Vikings on the auto turret. They work surprisingly well here versus the Cyclones, so he does manage to clean this up. But make no mistake, like that was some pretty annoying losses.
It was. I mean, at least they traded out on that army again, really like trying to drive that home, because this is the biggest difference they both have. KeeN already went for 2 barracks and is getting 2 more, and uThermal is still only on 1 barracks getting 2. So like KeeN should have the pressure applied to uThermal, so that uThermal like one, like maybe never gets 3rd CC down in location, but also even if he does, it's under constant threat of being killed. Probably killed, not even like attacked, just like should have sniped. There is a bunker going down somewhere. Wow, okay, that's interesting. So KeeN
not have pointed it out.
Yeah, right. Well, I think KeeN hadn't seen the 3rd base, and he was worried that like uThermal's 5 racks production was finishing or something, you know, and he was gonna counter. SCVs, please.
So there's an interesting dynamic.
SCVs?
Yeah, SCVs. Darius just messaged me, and the monthly finals list is actually already sorted. At this point, no matter who wins and loses, won't change it. So Neeb, Showtime, Lambo, KeeN, Bly, and Beastie are all like shoo-ins. There's no way they can possibly be knocked out. Alive and Nurture are tied for 8th place, and then everyone else is very close under that. So we actually have a definitive 8 players for the season finals. And I'm glad Nurture actually made that list.
Yeah, just barely.
That being said, if anyone declines their invite or they can't make it that day, it's gonna be interesting to see who replaces them, because a lot of folks are really close underneath those top 8. But that's cool. So we're going to have the cup today finish up, and it'll just be emphasis on cash prizing, as points for the remaining players are pretty much set. Like they're all in, whether they want to be or not. Anyways, big attack out of KeeN, storming down the middle of the map. 29 Marines to 15. You know, they don't have skins, so they can just kind of lay them.
Totally. He's almost doubling the army supply, and his +1's about to finish here. I don't think uThermal can hold, especially with these units out here like this. This is tap out time. Tap.
All right, well, that means KeeN ties it up now 1-1. And we go into a quick commercial break while we set up Game 3. Sit tight, folks, and we'll see you soon for the decider match. All right, folks, welcome back. Getting into game number 3. And I guess quick shout outs to Nexikuro, the current bit boss. Excuse me, frog in my throat. I don't know where that felt bad. Spawning here on the top left, he just won game 2. And he ties things up now 1-1. It's going to be the Korean Terran player, KeeN.
In the bottom right is the red Terran. He is liquid uThermal.
It was really good seeing KeeN actually play that game the way he did. I thought it was well handled and, more importantly, a little bit cleaner. I guess I just kind of expect him to play a bit scrappier than that of uThermal, because uThermal does kind of create this shining standard.
Well, uThermal, by choosing to go for that 3rd command center, had put himself into a vulnerable spot that he knew was open. You know, he doesn't go for a 3rd command center and figure this is fine. This is never going to be punished. And unfortunately, just didn't have enough units to protect it. I do wonder if the Ravens were already at the front lines. If they had that 2nd auto turret, would that have been the difference maker of, you know, what was like 16 SCVs lost or just 4 or 5? We'll never know. But just by that attack and then their follow-ups, uThermal is always going to be in a difficult position. So he might play it differently here. I mean, as I mentioned in the last game, I was a little bit surprised to see him go for the 3rd CC on that map as is. So maybe he just goes for his own extended 2 base. I guess is the better way to put it.
By the way, side note. The guy currently designing the cheer motes for us, Rain, mentioned him a bit earlier, also entered into the Corsair Twitter giveaway thing. And I gotta give him credit, because he did this really well. He actually hid the 5,000 and 10,000 emote thing in his screenshot, but he's showing off him working on, I guess, like the animated dagger and all that.
Nice.
If you're watching, Rain, big love, dude. I'm really excited to see what those look like. Because I think the cheer motes are fun and all, but I really like the idea of like people straight up stabbing each other. That sounds terrible to say, right? But with the way we use the bits on the channel, it's been really fun.
It'd be like Roberto. I
actually really hope though, like, and this is not meant to be a cash grab. This is why I set it for the 1-bit emote, right? It's the equivalent of 1 cent. I really hope people actually use the GG, like glittery, shiny, animated emote at like the end of games and stuff.
I wonder. I don't think I've ever used a GG emote in my life.
I use Nate's all the time, but mostly just because it's got like Artosis in it.
Doesn't it have tasteless?
Or, excuse me, you're right, tasteless.
Yeah,
Wrong half.
Artosis doesn't have any funny GGs. What are you talking about?
It's just got funny pylons.
And a funny laugh. Very contagious laugh.
I love Artosis's laugh, actually.
All right, well, a little bit funny here is they both just don't bother meeting each other in the middle of the map, so...
Yeah, actually, uThermal, I think, is going to come a little bit ahead for this, maybe? Okay, the cyclone spawned just in time. Because he had jumped up to that main and was definitely ready to start killing SCVs.
Yeah. Yep, they both had probably ideas, but uThermal's the one that loses a Reaper, so I guess technically KeeN was the one that got the better version of that. A little bit faster to his command center, though. Tiniest little bit.
Synapty in chat wants to know how the HP thingy works. So this is just like it's like this thing up here, right? It shows you the most recent big cheerer of the channel is, and if you use cheers in channel, it'll deal damage to the person who's the current boss. If you kill them by a lot, you will get a lot of HP, but right now the thing's freaking broken, so I wouldn't really recommend it. Either way, just having people just kind of fight for, I guess, their namesake on the stream, profile picture too. Although, who was it? Was it like Bacon Hero or Megadog? Somebody kept having that stupid Kim Jong picture, like...
Oh, I'm not sure which one of them was it. Whoa, go back to that Reaper. Go back to that... Oh, damn it.
What? This one?
It bugged out hella hard, man. Like, it actually wouldn't move for 5 seconds. It was caught on the lip.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
Awkward.
we got like the tail end of it, I guess. You really wanted to watch the video.
Well, I was about to head over and look at that fast 30 CC because it's uThermal who's been going for that faster 3rd CC in every game. He does it now, of course, but a little bit behind out of KeeN's.
Yeah. Again, surprise. Oh my God, no, Apollo, what are you doing?
Yes, great point. I agree, and I don't know how the other player's going to deal with that.
Okay, I'll make my point first. Shit, what was my point? Oh, that they both just go for 3rd CCs. Like, yeah, that was my point, right? I think so.
more passive play is fine. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's not wrong, right? But it is just for 3 maps in a row to have so many players do the 3 CC. And I guess that uThermal will be more hesitant to do it, but it is Abyssal Reef and it's still a large map.
So what happened? You very clearly got distracted.
Well, I look over, and Nugget had been sleeping to the right of me, and Apollo to my left, and Apollo had gotten bored. And I look over, and Apollo is literally just, like sitting on her. Like, laying completely on her, like, enveloping her. So I thought he was going to be bullying her, so I didn't want him to, like, get really mean. But despite having her in almost like a chokehold of his body, he instead just started licking her and giving her a bath.
Yeah, what if that was just cuddles, man? They're bonding.
Well, she didn't like it. She just meowed and, like, ran away.
Mom, help! Snow Python in chat, by the way, wants to know what's the Corsair contest. Right now, we got a giveaway for anyone who owns Corsair Gear. We're asking you to tweet us pictures of it. Share the love of awesome, high-quality equipment you got, whether it's power supply, whether it's RAM, headset, keyboard, you name it. And we're going to be giving away a very rare, super exclusive portrait code to one person randomly on Twitter, depending on who's got the luck of the draw through those tweets.
Yep. No joke. This is a super rare portrait.
Yeah, and the winner is going to be totally random. Like, you can show us the coolest fucking setup, and I hope you have a really cool setup, but we're just picking a winner random. Okay.
How did you go?
Marine is just ascending now. Say hello to St. Peter for us.
god. So uThermal, KeeN, both getting their command centers at equal times, stim equal times, production basically equal. That little scuffle in the middle of the map really doesn't have much to do with the game. KeeN has gone kind of like that Proxima game, a lot more into Vikings. This time 6 though, so like even more. And has a lot of control over that, but I think that cut into something or other. Oh, cut into his upgrades.
Well, yeah, because you spent all that extra gas on Vikings, right? But the interesting thing was, like, every game there has been anti-air of some variety, especially in the Proxima game, and yet uThermal still got in and did some damage with the auto turrets. So, if KeeN is in position, which he's not, maybe he could have prevented this. So as the auto turrets look to come in, picking off tanks is huge early on. Getting SCV kills is fantastic.
I love that I couldn't see a cyclone die, but I saw the debris rise up into my face on the camera.
Yo, I just had like a Terran balance moment here. I know they're looking to change the damage on the auto turrets, right? But what if they tune down the health a little bit? And I don't mean by much, but by like 5? Because as we just witnessed, the 2 tanks in siege mode, right? Bonus damage versus armored cannot one-shot the auto turret.
Maybe. No.
I think, by the way, what I find interesting about the game is not, like, it just feels like they'll take, like with the Adepts, 10 health was such a random nerf. And I don't actually agree with it. But there's some interesting developments where you tune the damage down and suddenly it takes 5 hits to kill a Hellion instead of 4 and things like this. And it only affects like that one specific dynamic. Those type of health nerfs, I actually am totally on board with. Or damage nerfs, I'm totally on board with. The Adept one most recently, though, was a bit... I don't know, it just felt like they didn't have a better idea and they didn't want to do the math. So they're like, yo, we can't really buff it or nerf it with speed like we normally do, so let's just shave off some health.
Yeah. Of course, the question you have to ask if you're ever going to change anything is always like, what is the point of the change? And I think for the Raven, the point was it was too bursty. So their option was to take away the damage, but give it more length. I don't know if that's really the problem, though, because the problem that I foresee in most games is not the tank bust potential, although we did see one earlier today, but it's just in how like much they're used. So maybe the health would have been better. But it's also that, like, you don't... Like, they're going to be flying, your tanks aren't, you're going to be out of position, and they're still going to do a lot of damage. So there's no real, I guess, way to stop that, unless you turn it back to just having terribly low damage. Which is what it was a long time ago. Back when you could build missile turrets without engineering base. The glory days of Terran.
That's a patch wish to bring back. You know, we're going to be revisiting all these things.
It was just so dumb that, technically I guess it was dumb they did it in the first place because no one asked for it, but the fact that they gave it to us was just like such big smiles all around, and then no one did anything and they took it away. No one did anything. Why? Okay, anyways, that's like a year and a half old. I'm still going to rant about that every week. Auto turrets was already, like, even without the auto turrets, that was a questionable engagement from uThermal, the auto turrets included. So, backs away.
The auto turret, by the way, like, the actual just look and the attack of it looks more devastating than the Thor's anti-air attack. Just saying.
I love that you're still on board with this Thor thing. I don't make Thors enough to care at all about what they look like when they attack.
I am actually really passionate about this. I've been thinking about making, like, an actual well-thought-out scripted video. But anyways, another topic for another time. We also have this sort of sneak attack set up here. These Ravens have got about 8 turrets between them, so even though there is a missile turret in play, if uThermal successfully distracts KeeN's army, he could get back there and do some very serious damage.
uThermal also does have a lead enough in upgrades to maybe influence a fight, as they both are posturing in the map here. Rocks are broken down, and KeeN is not quite fast enough to save his 4th. Cancel that one. But now his 3rd might be open, too. This is dangerous.
Is that a kill? I think it was a kill. Yep.
Oh,
not a cancel.
There were a couple of tanks, but that actually just ends up being almost free pickings.
Past tense.
Yeah, right. Does drop enough over here, and it looks like he will hold on to his 3rd, but already getting that 4th base killed. And, you know, getting caught out of position like that was pretty bad, as uThermal already has his 4th base up and running.
Planetary, too, so you can't even, like, really casually drop it.
Yep. And a 5th base on the way. I mean, uThermal was maxed out or close enough to it. He's starting to bank minerals and investing in them. For the command center is a good idea. KeeN is not near maxed out. And that 4th base dying was a big deal.
Okay, uThermal is better gonna miss this.
Oh, but he's gonna catch another 4th base. Oh, unlucky. Unlucky.
While this goes on, though, he does... Nope, another kill. He also floats in with the Ravens, something that's been a little bit, I guess, neglected.
Wow, I love these fuck you Raven turrets.
I know, right?
I really like the Ravens, not for the medevacs.
You know specifically what those are for. Raven on 2 health, 14 kills on one, 9 on the other. These have certainly gotten their value out of them.
Tanks definitely gonna cover against this, especially the path. It was a very odd path for those Marines to take in the first place.
I thought those were shadows of fish, and I realized those were corpses flying.
That's grim.
That's really awkward, actually. But okay, well, uThermal's attack on the left side does get blown away. It looks like the right side's also going to get cleaned up. He does manage to drag the Marines back into tank fire, tries to trade out even upgrades. Man, it's like confetti. Jesus, corpses going everywhere.
And that Marine drop did not work out because that is, in fact, a planetary. More production on the way for uThermal, and KeeN still does not have a 4th base. And he keeps on running out of minerals to make one.
This is looking really good for uThermal at this rate. And while KeeN has certainly got tanks and less potential, generally speaking, it's the production and it's the income that makes me favor uThermal so heavily. And he's not had to lift up the main, right? Like, he's been able to afford new command centers consistently. Yeah.
If you get into this position while knowing that you're denying your opponent's fourth, I'm pretty sure you feel invincible.
You got the medevac that had the Marines in it that were trying to escape, by the way.
Yeah. There are so many units in so many places, and KeeN is getting run a little bit thin. Like, his tank count to the left side probably should have been dropped, and uThermal might recognize that one of these days, but slowly trying to just encroach on uThermal's tanks, I don't think it's going to work. Well, he's going to force it to back off. But uThermal, he sees tanks in the middle, he sees tanks to the left, he knows his army to the right side. Eventually, he's just going to have too much army in one place, and it's just about finding that place. Right now, it does seem like it's off to the right, maybe? Oh, the 4 tanks unsiege. Oh, God. KeeN is just not lucky in this series. Hey, cancel that one.
There's no 4th whatsoever. It's just not in the cards. Tanks obliterating the Marines. And while this fight goes off, this is everything for KeeN. Left side of the map, there's a couple of tanks left over here, but not having the 4th was bad. Possibly losing the 3rd is worse. Yeah, KeeN's overall supply just falling out at this point. 34 SCVs dead, big army losses, and I think we're about to see uThermal go on to the finals with the 3rd CC straight up dying.
I do believe so. uThermal still has his 5 bases. I think maybe he accidentally forgot to add reactors onto his production, but still 3 tanks at a time, 11 Marines.
Positioning will get broken, but it's lasting damage that's been done, and I kind of forgot these Ravens are still up. I want to put down a point defense drone, please.
Oh, I thought the Vikings had actually soaked enough damage.
Me too.
Looks like it was an F2, actually.
A bit awkward. Looking at the army supply graph, though, what's interesting is I didn't quite realize the dynamic of this. Like, we've been seeing all these little trades, but 5 minutes ago, KeeN took a bad fight, and you can see he's not recovered for 5 minutes straight. He's been behind.
Yep.
Oh, it's Raven, please. Gets an auto turret off, but it's dealt with pretty quickly.
Yeah. KeeN knows this is his last hurrah. He did manage to lift his main to a 3rd, so he is mining somewhat, but not much army to work with here, and so much for that base.
Oh, that's also almost all the SCVs dying.
5 more left over. KeeN is out of luck.
GG. All right, uThermal shutting down the Korean invasion and defending the European server.
Well, not yet. It's got to defend it from Neeb.
Neeb's like
honorary.
Yeah, he's the honorary Korean threat, I suppose.
Okay.
All right, well, folks, we're going to get into game. Quick reminder that as we get towards the next series, which will be the last series today, this best of 5 finals coming up, it's your last chance to tweet us pictures of your Corsair gear. People are saying, like, well, what if we don't want to buy Corsair gear? That's fine. This contest we're holding is meant to reward people who already have bought Corsair gear. It's a thank you to those that support our sponsors. So by all means, don't worry about it. There's a lot of other ways to do giveaways with the channel. We'll be doing more in the future too, but for now, today's one of those special ones. But commercial break time. I'll see you guys in a bit. Thanks for watching.